In this video, I'll show you an alternate way to do an open contour cut. So if we wanted to just cut this top edge of this part, we're cutting this out of a piece of bar stock and we're setting up a fixture on our table, and our 0, point on our fixture was, say, going to be lower left-hand corner of this part. We just want to cut the 4 interior cuts and then do this cut along this top edge here. The primary way to do that would be you'd have to take it into CAD if you want to do this with any sort of accuracy, because in WARDCAM, when we do an open contour cut, it doesn't apply any tool offset, and then also it doesn't add any lead in, lead out. So we would want to add that in CAD. So in my CAD package here, I've got my line here along the top that I've joined together, and I would use my offset command, and I'd offset by half of my tool diameter, which I'm going to say I'm using a 40 thousandths nozzle, so we'll offset by 20 thou, and we'll offset it to this side here so that we'll have this cut be to size. And then the other thing we have to do is give ourselves a little bit of lead in, lead out here. So we start off the edge, so don't pierce right on the edge of the part here. So I'll use my lengthen command, and let's see, I'm going to tell it to lengthen this by 1/8 of an inch, and I'll click on that end and give myself a little bit of lead out also. So then what I would do is save that, and then I would open that up in WARDCAM. And now that I've got that line there, I can use my open contour command to program that. So I'm going to just do 1/2 inch aluminum. And then over here on the right, I've got my open contour cutting command, so I can select my quality, click whichever end of the line that I want to start at. So we'll start at the left end here. And then we would go to our next step and do this, and then we would delete the outside cut because we don't want to do that. And then we'd probably want to reorder our cut sequence so that we do the open contour cut last. So it'll do the 4 inside cuts and then do the outside cut. And then we'd go to our last step in the process. And if we are going to cut this out of a fixture, make sure that we set our 0, point at the corner of the part and the fixture and create our CNC file. And then, of course, we have our 4 inside cuts, and then we have our outside cut, and it's maxing out at 15.7, which if we go into our material database for 1/2 inch aluminum with a 1440, 15.7. So that's traditionally how we would do a open contour cut like that. Another option that might be easier is we'll just take the original part here, no offset line, and rather than doing the open contour cut, what we can actually do is tell WARDCAM that we're using a 5-axis machine, even though we're going to be doing it as a vertical cut. Even if you have a 2D machine, you can do this. So if you don't already have a 5-axis machine set up in here, you can go into your material database. And if we're going to use our, not material database, machine database, and we're using our 1440 2D machine, but I can just turn on the 5-axis. And then again, we'll go back to our 1/2 inch aluminum. And rather than doing the open contour cut here, I'm just going to go to my next step in the process, click on my auto to add all my leads. And then what we'll see here, since we've told it we're using a 5-axis machine, we now have this choice for bevels down here. And if I activate this tool, then it can choose to top or bottom bevels, which we're just doing a top bevel with an angle of 0. Bevel height you can just leave at whatever the default value is here. And you want to make sure that this whole contour button is turned off, which normally by default it initially is. And then you probably want to check what your leads are set to. So you want to make sure that your tab width is set to 0, and then you can specify what you want for lead in and lead out. And click on your advanced button down here and make sure the angles are set to 0 and 0 for the in and out angles. So then basically want to click a little bit away from the corner here. So if we're, I'm sorry, I'm working on the wrong corner here, up here. So if we want to do our bevel or open contour cut along this top edge here, basically I want to be a little bit away from the edge, the corner here, so approximately there. So now we hit our next button, and then in this step here, we can click on our auto button, adds all of our tool paths for all of our cuts. Eventually we're going to end up deleting this one here, but we have to leave it here for right now. And then down here in the bevels area, so since we've told it we've got a 5-axis machine, we now have the choice for bevels. Can hit the little down button here to activate this tool. And then bevel angle, you just want to set that to 0. Bevel height, you can leave whatever the default is. You want to be different than the thickness, because if you have this set as the same as the thickness, then you're not able to later then delete the outside lead. But as long as this is a different value than the thickness, then later we'll be able to delete the outside lead, because the outside lead and the bevel cut will be separate cuts. And then you'll want to take a look at your lead in, lead out settings. So you just want to make sure that outside tab width is set to 0, and then you can set your lead in and lead out lengths to what you want those to be. And if you click on the advanced button, in angle and out angle should be set to 0, and then we can save and exit. And then basically what you do is click near the corner but not right on the corner, so just a little bit away from the corner here, and then I will come up and be a little bit away from this corner here. And then the edge that we want to cut, we want to have that highlighted blue like this, and I just left click, and that'll add that lead in there, or that cut in there. And then in our cut sequence over here, we can see we've got the bevel cut and then the outside lead, which we don't need this anymore, so now we can delete that. So we've got that cut there across the top now. And then we can hit our next button, and again want to make sure our 0 point is set on the corner of the part to line up with our fixture. And then we can create our CNC button, or our CNC file again. So here's this new file. So you will see, since we told it that it is a 5-axis machine, there will be these A's and C codes in here, but if you have a 2D machine, it's just going to ignore that. If you do have a 5-axis machine and you don't want it to make those movements in the A or the C, specifically the C in this case, then you can just set your key switch to the 2D mode, and then the machine will act as if it's a 2D machine, and then it'll ignore these C's that are in here. And then one other thing to note is that the speeds are going to be a little bit slower, just the way that WARDCAM calculates the feed rates on bevel cuts. So here we're maxing out at 13.04 versus before we were at 15.7. So one way, if you did want to go a little bit faster on that cut, you can always go back here and change the quality on that. So we can come back to our leads area and switch that to fast, and now it'll do a little bit faster. So now it would be doing that at 17.7. And then one other thing to note of difference between doing it as an open contour cut versus a bevel cut is that WARDCAM does apply ramping to a bevel cut. So you see here we start off at 4.6 and then we ramp up to the full speed. And then at the end of the cut we'll ramp down, which is nice, versus on the open contour cut, it basically starts at the full speed, does ramp down here because we have a little bit of a corner or notch to go into. And then at the end of the cut, it's not slowing down, which sometimes can cause the stream to jump at the end of the cut. So that's another benefit of using the bevel option for the open contour cut. That's an alternate way to program open contour cuts. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Thanks.